Canada's entire economy is completely resting upon the real estate market. How do we know this for certain? Just look at the statistics. Personal debt is at an all-time high, real wages are stagnant, unfunded liabilities are becoming uncontrollable, and with oil prices down for such a long time, there's nothing else keeping it propped up. So what's going to happen? Well, you came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to have our focus on the Canadian real estate market. I will show you several charts, but I want to begin with this article here, which describes what's happening. Sales of existing homes across the Greater Toronto Area dropped a whopping 20% in May from a year ago. The average home price in the region fell about 6% from April. So it's talking about the recent measures that have been put in place by the Ontario government. And essentially what they are attempting to do is to cool down the market. It's too hot and they want to be able to cool it down. Recently, we saw on the West Coast, the government implemented a 15% foreign buyers tax. And essentially this has created, temporarily at least, a little bit of a slowdown. And that was much needed because the prices are astronomical. They are out of reach for the average person. So they're trying to put in some measures. However, it's not strong enough. And you could see that the areas like Vancouver, the prices have simply come back. Sales have come back to where they were before. So any sort of dip didn't last too long. Now the same thing with us here could very well be the same. I'm not denying that. I just look at it and have to say, are you really trying to cool the housing market? Are you trying to make it look like you're cooling the housing market? The Toronto Real Estate Board said there were 10,000 sales on the MLS, down from 12,000 sales reported in May 2016. Detached home sales, which by the way, you will not find a detached home in the GTA for less than $1 million. And more than likely, the average sale is approximately $1.5 million for a detached home. Well, their sales fell 26% during the period. And essentially what I wanted to talk about was the fact that these prices have become out of reach for the average person. The average person cannot afford $1.5 million. So you see then the ripple effect. Condos and townhouses are then pushed up. They were sort of stagnant to some degree a few years ago, but people can't afford these prices now, so that is pushing up the other markets where perhaps an individual may say, you know, I don't want to live in a condo, but I simply can't afford the prices of the townhouses, or people in townhouses can't afford the prices of the semi-detached and detached and so on. So I see this becoming a very big problem. Let's look at some charts now. Canada home sales month over month. You could see this decline right here, 6.2% decline. And this is something very significant. Of course, these numbers, you can see, they're up and they're down all the time. If this is a trend, we are going to enter a recession in Canada very rapidly, because this is the only thing holding the market together. We are going to have mass foreclosures. There's going to be a lot of bankruptcies. And in Canada, you can't just leave the keys and walk away. Just what happened with the subprime crisis. You can't do that in Canada. It works a lot differently. So I think there's going to be a real big problem real fast. Canadian household debt is well above the US peak. I hear this a lot from Americans who suggest that the situation is terrible in the US, and I agree with it entirely. But in Canada, it's a hell of a lot worse. It is up and up and up. See, during the financial crisis, the US got a little bit of a breather, but that didn't happen in Canada. It's just continuously going up. This is debt as a percentage of personal disposable income. And people don't have disposable income. What they do is they take a second mortgage, or they just rack up debt on their credit card, and then they pay that credit card off with a home equity loan. And this is something that's been a growing trend. It's getting worse, but what else is new? I sound like a broken record. Canadian households' high debt service ratio. Look, it's the same situation here. You're looking at this. Once again, the US, after the recession, had come down significantly. In Canada, it's still very high, again, as a percentage of personal disposable income. Looking at this, real house prices surging in Canada. Yes, US prices have come up to some degree since the financial crisis, since the subprime crisis brought everything down. There was just this little, let me bring the highlighter out here. You can see this little tiny blip that occurred when the US was just tanking, and of course has come up. But Canada, I mean, it's just becoming parabolic the way I see it. This is not sustainable. People couldn't afford it before the housing boom. But what's happening here? Okay, let's just take a look at reality for just a second here. As you see, a 5-year variable mortgage in Canada right now from one of these retailers. I mean, this is not exactly one of the major banks, but look, it's considered to be a rather good rated company to get your mortgage from. 1.8%. Anybody could afford these type of mortgages when you're giving them away for free. Yeah, that's variable. I don't recommend it, but a lot of people are doing that. They're going with the variables. And you have to put 20% down. There's no doubt. And a lot of people don't have that. I'm just showing this as an example of look how cheap people are getting the debt. It's free. Money is free these days, apparently. And then you take this, and then if you're only paying that 1.8% and you rack up all kinds of credit card debt, you don't have to worry because you can pay that off with your home equity loan. No sense in worrying. This is why the housing prices in Canada continue to increase. That's why the government has been doing a very good job to make sure they continue to increase. And then I want to show you this to finish it all off. Why don't they want to increase interest rates? Well, they make a very good point, and that is Fed tightening usually ends with a financial event. I'm showing you the chart from the US, of course, but it applies to Canada. It applies to basically everywhere. Look at this. Every single time they increase rates and the market tanks. It's going to get worse before it gets better. The only way that this economy can heal itself is with an economic detox, and I assure you that's not happening. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, it helps to push these videos higher up in the YouTube search rankings. I do appreciate that very much. Now, if you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. You can actually flip through the books. Just go to Amazon. They have this look inside feature. It's going to allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like it. And last but not least, if you're joining me for my recent videos that I've done in recent interviews, hello to all of the new subscribers. We're closing in on 50,000 subscribers. I'm very, very happy. The fact that I have one of the most engaged subscribers out of anyone out there. I'm very, very pleased to have that. So many people email me. By the way, if you're emailing me, I will get back to you. It just takes me quite a while. Sometimes I'll get an email, and then by the time I see that there's another email in there from that same person saying, hey, did you get my email? I assure you I'm getting people's emails, and it takes me a while to get back. But if you contact me, then I will definitely get back to you. It's very difficult to do so on the comments. There's so many pouring in, but I pride myself on being the YouTuber who replies to more people than anyone else. So that's something that I really pride myself on. So I do try to get back to as many people, even if it's just a simple thank you or simple little line that I give. I try to give as much detail as I can in the comments. It's difficult, so that's why I try to make these videos here and consolidate the information. That's enough ranting for today. Take care.